All right, fabulous. I am thrilled to see so many faces today. Excellent, excellent turnout. Thank you for being here and informing yourself in advance of the annual meeting. Max, if you want to go ahead and advance, or Brad, whoever's advancing. So we'll go ahead and start with chalice lighting. Heidi, would you like to light the chalice as I am wording here? Okay, as we light this chalice, may it serve to give us clarity of purpose and illumine our way as we set about doing the work of this congregation in commitment, in cooperation, and in love. All right, next slide, please. All right, so as always, y'all are used to this slide because it's important as we are working through the business of the congregation that we continue to orient ourselves always to our purpose, to our mission, and to our vision. So I'd just like to throw that up there every time we meet just to remind you that that's where your board's coming from and the Finance Committee and others who are doing the work that we're walking through today. So we can go ahead and go to the next slide then. A couple of updates around membership. I think I just heard that somebody was signing the membership book today, so welcome whoever signed today. Voting is going to take place on May the 19th. To be eligible to vote, you need to be a member by today, so if you're in the room and you're not a member and you want to be a member and vote, Mary has the membership book right there, so now's the time. So as y'all know, membership indicates that all that stuff that was on the previous slide, that you agree with that, that you are entering into covenant with the folks who are also members, and that you'll be an active participant in the life of the communication and give of your time, talent, and treasure. So we welcome those who are interested in participating in membership. We'll go ahead and go to the next slide. So the first thing we're going to go through here is the very non-controversial part. Not that there's anything terribly controversial in any of this, but the very non-controversial part, the folks who have signed up to give of their time next year, who are willing to participate and share their time and their skills. So if you want to go ahead and go to the next slide. First off, Board of Trustees, Randy Rahutsky is on the slate to be the new trustee of the incoming class next year. Thank you, Randy. I know that as of at least yesterday, and as of when I talked to Kathy earlier today, Leadership Development was still working on filling that second slot. So if you are a member, if you have been a member and for a year, and you have a burning desire and interest in spending some time committed to the board, we would love to have you. So submit your name to Kathy Kearns. Financial Secretaries, Sonis, for 3 years. Lois picking up the remaining 2 years of Ryan Sussman's term as he is going to the treasurer role. Thank you, Ryan. And thank you, Lois. And then John Brannon as alternate. Endowment Committee, Dave Smeltzer. Leadership Development, Don Gregg, who had been appointed by the board and now will be continuing for 3 years. Thank you, Don. We appreciate that. And then on the MET, Kathy Slater is going to serve another term, always assuming all these folks are elected. But Kathy is going to serve another term as the member at large. All right, any questions on any of those? If I could, thank you to all of those who have volunteered. We appreciate you. Very much appreciate you. Okay, moving on then. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Sure.
Okay. Slate of candidates. I can't help but be this person in the room and say, how many of those people are minorities?
That's an excellent question. I'm looking. I believe the answer is 0. Unless you're talking about women or. Go ahead. Yeah.
Is that intentional or?
That's not intentional. If you look around the room, I'd say that that's representative of the folks who have stood up to participate. So, representative of our membership. We would love to change that. I think ask anyone here, we would love to change that.
I was just curious. Are you a member? I registered with the paperwork. I have to go through the orientation process.
Excellent. Welcome. All right. Any other questions? Oh. That's what I get for going up on the stage with that.
I was just curious what the different roles listed on the slate of candidates, like what the roles entail, I guess.
Okay, so going through kind of Board of Trustees is the governance body. So the body that works to establish essentially rules, bylaws, policies, things like that. And then the Board of Trustees meets now twice a month to talk through matters of what's going on within the congregation. So it's our job to keep kind of the balcony view and kind of help inform those sorts of things. The MET is responsible for kind of day-to-day execution there, and all of these roles are specified in the bylaws. So I can give you a bit of a sidebar on where some of those are. The Endowment Committee, I'm going to need some help with that from somebody who's on the Endowment Committee. You want help?
Committee, we are in the process of changing over to the Legacy Giving team. It's a process of changing rules and definitions and purpose and function, but we want to encourage and educate the congregation about various means of giving to the church and creating a legacy in general or specific needs. And you'll hear more about that coming up, and to celebrate those who have done so already.
Thank you.
I just want to say we do have folks that are online, so let's use the microphone so everybody can participate.
Thank you. Leadership development then is responsible for finding folks who are willing to serve in leadership roles, whether they're elected, appointed, or coordinator roles, folks who are doing a lot of the volunteer work of the organization from a leadership perspective. And then, I already mention ministry executive team? Oh, financial secretaries? You want to speak to that? Dave, Lois?
The financial secretaries will get together on Mondays after services, and basically we just account for the money that was given on the Sunday prior, and make sure that it's entered into the spreadsheet correctly, so that the treasurer can keep track of it. So, and we run to the bank and make the deposit.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, and also I want to say thank you for asking the questions, and a gentleman just left, but when I walked in and had my first information session, I would have been way too I don't know what's going on, so please, thank you for asking that question, and please ask any further that you have. Appreciate it. Okay, next. Okay, and these are just the folks who are continuing, not just the folks who are continuing, the folks who have already spent lifeblood, time, tears, sweat, and all of those things in roles that have been elected by the congregation. So again, applause and thank you to all the folks who are continuing to participate. All right, then moving on. Bylaws revisions. These are really super exciting for those of you who went through and read them in the annual reports. Woo, bylaws, all right. Okay, we can go ahead and go to the next slide, which is essentially a summary. None of these are any kind of earth-shattering changes. There are really a couple of things that we just needed to clean up. And we know that there are probably some other audits we could be doing and modifications, but in short term, things we wanted to clean up. We've had some struggles filling the personnel coordinator role, so Leadership Development asked us if we could reframe that to a personnel committee role. And by the way, if anyone is interested in working on the personnel committee and auditing our personnel policies and helping us improve and update those, that would be much appreciated. So submit your name, let me know, let Kathy Kearns know, let any member of the board know. But in any case, we needed to update some of the verbiage in the bylaws that still said personnel coordinator to make sure that that matched. Secondly, when we went from 9 trustees to 7 trustees, there was a section that we missed in updating. So there's a section that we just need to change that states that we elect 3 1 year and then 2 the other 2 years. And then the last one is clarifying that limitations on terms of service are just consecutive. So in other words, somebody can serve on the board for X number of consecutive terms and then need to take a break. But yes, they can in fact come back like Randy and serve on the board later after taking a break. Any questions on any of those? Okay. Do we want to go ahead and pop forward and we can just kind of flip through these until we get past the lovely text. These again are in the annual report, so if you have any questions, they're out there. If you want to see where they fall, you can go ahead and keep going, and keep going, and keep going, And keep going. All right, and now we have arrived at fiscal year 2025 budget. I have line item copies, not enough to give to everybody. Oh, go ahead, Glenn.
So the section on MET where it says, with reference to the personnel committee or coordinator, where it says that the MET shall make a decision about personnel in collaboration with the committee, I have thought that it should be the reverse. The committee shall make the decision, and the wording makes it sound like the MET shall make the decision.
Okay.
And there's another similar section.
Okay. I'm going to look at Susanna. Any chance you could capture that? Or Carol? Okay. Thank you. We'll take a look at that. Okay, and Heidi's handing out line item copies of the budget for folks who are interested in that. We're not going to review by line today, but we know last year there were folks who had interest in seeing that, so Kay was kind enough to print those out in advance so people can take a look. Looks like we have another question. Go ahead.
I'm curious with the, this might have been already stated, and I just didn't catch it. Sometimes I can get like distracted. But anyways, like what the numbers listed, if that's like expenses or like amount earned or.
So if you look at the top section, you'll see that when you go to the line item section, the top section lays out income sources. And then you go down below, and I'm not looking at one right now, so I'm doing this from memory. You go down below that. Thank you, much appreciated. Yep. And that goes all the way through, let's see here, to the line that says total operating income on the second page, and then everything below that are expenses. Okay. Thank you, Dean. I'll hold on to it, okay. I don't think so. Okay, so really quick update from as of yesterday. Sandy, thank you. As of yesterday, we had received 100 pledges. So we came in just above $275,000 in generosity campaign, so thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That was an increase of 5% over the prior year. Wasn't quite to the goal that we'd set for ourselves, but represented 11 new pledges. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Sandy?
16 new.
Oh, thank you. Update. 16 new pledges. That's fabulous. That is an excellent sign of where we are headed. So yes. So that's kind of where we are in terms of dollar figures. And then Dave, did you want to come up and walk through the finance committee? Or? Lois is going to do it? Okay.
I'm going to introduce Dave.
All right. Excellent. I like it. I'm going to sit down.
Hi, I'm Lois Ware. I'm your treasurer, your outgoing treasurer as of July 1st. Ryan Sussman will be, thank you. Ryan Sussman will be taking over my role in the new fiscal year. But as treasurer, I'm an ex officio member of the Finance Committee, and I think normally we would have Kay Ekman up here right now. She's the chair of the Finance Committee. She would be doing the introductions, but she couldn't be with us today, so you get me. Before Dave Watt's going to present the nuts and bolts of what's in the 25 budget, but I wanted to just say a few words up front, just to, kind of get you oriented. This year's budget is a little bit fuzzy. Because of the loss of Reverend Stephen, we don't know exactly what the future is going to hold in terms of our ministerial needs, and so things may change. So please keep in mind as Dave's going through this that, we don't know exactly how this is all going to play out. But I do want to say I'm really encouraged because I see us moving into a period of growth. Gosh, there's so many new faces here. It feels really good to see people getting involved, and I think the thing I want to say is the future is going to be different around here. Let's embrace that. And I'm just going to give a little spoiler alert here. The fiscal 25 budget is going to see probably another draw from the Hobbs bequest. And I know this gives a lot of us heartburn, but I kind of like to look at this as this money is here. We have it. It's an investment in our future. We're moving towards growth. I mean, 16 new pledges. We're growing like crazy. And we need to not slow down just right now. We need to move into this time of growth in preparation, you know, for what's coming. And I just wanted to say that Olive and Clinton Hobbs saw this church through some really rough times. And they saw some really good times too. And I don't know what Olive would think, but I think Olive would approve of us using her gift to grow into our future. So thanks. And I'm going to turn it over to Dave, who's going to give you the nuts and bolts of what's in the budget.
Just looking for the microphone. So I can run.
Oh, hi there. Thanks, Lois, I appreciate that. I do need to acknowledge the other members of the finance team. Max Grubb, who's hiding behind the monitor back there. But we'll be happy to answer any questions you might have afterwards. Dave Smeltzer couldn't be with us today, and of course Kay, who has been our indefatigable leader and driver and spreadsheet wizard. So I just want to make a note about this. That 275 is the largest number we've ever had, and that's astonishing, especially with the now 16 new pledges. I'm very excited about where this congregation is going. I think I echo Lois's feelings that this is a very exciting time for us, and we are lucky that our generous reserves allow us to invest in programs and ministries that will encourage new membership and get us in the not distant future to where there won't be any draws necessary. So that's what we're looking for. Next slide, please. Okay. I'm going to try to read this, but just real quickly. We met with the MET on March 25th or April 5th, sorry, to go over the proposed budget. We are assuming that the monies available for a new minister will be just over $75,000. It'll be $75,832 in total. That is what we, that will probably be enough to fund a 3/4 time minister, which is what Reverend Stephen was last year. It is a minimum for UUA guidelines. It's not even the midpoint. But we're going to go with that. Part of the thinking behind that, in case, is because a full-time would require another about 23,000, and that would have to come out more out of the draw, and we did not want to do that. We'll be offering a silver level. The UUA has various different levels of health care. Incidentally, the cost of our health care for just this year went up 14%. 14. There's nothing we can do about that. Well, there is something we can do about that. We're looking at alternatives, and one of the things that we will be doing is in the future for our new minister, we will be offering the silver package instead of the gold package. It saves us some money. It does shift that responsibility onto our employees. The employees who currently are covered will be covered through the end of the year, and we will be looking at transferring those employees to a silver package at January 1 of next year, or in the meantime, we will continue to be looking at alternatives outside of perhaps the UUA package. So we're seeing if there are other opportunities. We're working with a consultant who is not a very good consultant because she's not charging us anything. But, no, we're looking at alternatives for healthcare. The staff will be getting a 3% raise, which is sort of standard in business nowadays, but it's not going to get everybody even up to the minimum and certainly not to the midpoint. But we're offering a 3% raise for the staff, and also instead of the recommended 10% for professional expenses, we're dropping that to 2.5%. So we're trying to find ways where we can trim our expenses. And in fact, I think we have. In case you didn't know, the planned draw from our reserves for the fiscal '24 was going to be $49,000. Because of Reverend Stevens' passing, it's gone down to 25. However, for next year, even if we stay with a 3/4-time minister, our planned draw is under 30,000, it's about 29,000. So we are doing better, same. Next slide, please. Okay. So the reserve funds that we have are primarily the Hobbs bequest. The amount that we took out of that this year will be right around 25,000. Coming up for next year, it will be about 29,000. That will leave us 62. The plan, and there will be notes on this in another slide, but the plan is that we have maybe 2 more years of diminishing draws from our reserves, at which point then we will no longer be drawing from those reserves. So that is our goal, and we think we can get there with increased revenues. Okay, next slide, please. This just gives you I'm sorry, go ahead.
With the thing you mentioned with the healthcare rates for it increasing by a certain percentage, what caused that?
That's really more of a political question that I would like to get into, but no, I mean, healthcare everywhere is going up. It's not just UUA's healthcare is going up 14%. It's, you can look anywhere and it'll go up that much. Emily, could you pass the microphone, please?
I was just curious if, so I'm seeing several cuts for staff things, between the professional development expenses and the health insurance. At least for me, the impact of the raise doesn't really, it seems like it's still a decrease. So I'm just curious if there's a long-term plan to move us more toward the fair wages. And a second part of the question is, has there been conversation about making the health insurance more equitable in that right now it's the percentage that the church pays depends on the hours of the staff member. So because I work less hours, the health insurance is too expensive for me to afford. So I'm just curious if there's been conversation about moving toward that in the future so that it's more equitable.
There absolutely has. And there also has, the goal actually is also to move people up to a fair compensation. That absolutely is our goal, and we're going to get there as soon as we can.
I had one follow-on, since we were talking about that. As I don't need the health insurance, I'm employed outside of the church, but I am part-time here. But I do have an HSA. I didn't know the silver plans, they're both high. The ones I saw were all high deductible plans. If we're transitioning our people to that, do we have, a plan to either provide some matching contributions or to help kickstart that for them? Because otherwise, they're just going to have to meet that deductible right away. And I was concerned about that because it took me almost, 6 years to get my HSA fully funded so I could meet my deductible if something bad happened.
I think that's an important thing for us to consider as we look at other plans. We'll look at that silver plan as a possibility, but we are going to be exploring other outside UUA plans to see if those can work, and that's a good thing that we need to be able to consider. Thank you.
I think this really highlights the need for a personnel committee.
I just want to say that I appreciate that Emily's advocating for herself and for the rest of the staff, because she took the words out of my mouth, which I was going to ask, which is that I love that we're trying to reach towards that 3% increase, but I was worried that that was completely offset, or possibly more so than the healthcare change, right? So in essence, I just want to point out that I am a strong advocate for our staff. As we grow, I feel like we are relying more and more on our staff, and we need to make sure that we are thinking about that holistically and not always just at the numbers. I know we're talking about it from the numbers because that's where we are, but these things, listening to our staff and what they're asking for and meeting that is far more important to me than being, across the board kind of thing. So if they want HSA or something like that, we can be more creative by listening to them.
I just wanted to say that I agree, and I think if we're making our budgetary decisions based on our values and we value people and what they bring, this has to be a priority for the board going forward and for the Finance Committee.
I'm curious with the thing with how with that change kind of across the board with not just us but with several other places that are where these rates for healthcare are being increased. Is there any way that we as a church can affect or change that in some way?
You want to answer that? Because I don't have a good answer for you on that one. The answer is I think not, actually, except to look for other plans.
Yeah, I'm sitting here with a queasy feeling in my tummy as a member, thinking about our staff not having health insurance or being unable to pay and having only a catastrophic plan. Emily, I really appreciate your bravery bringing up the comment for yourself, having to stand there and represent our values as a church, but also to take that stand for just yourself. I think that you're being very brave, but also I appreciate others in the room saying you're speaking for them too. It's scary to have to stand up for yourself as a staff person, as a person who either is full-time or part-time or in any way, shape, or form, being paid, being employed by someone while we're sitting here looking at the numbers as though they are just, numbers on a piece of paper. If something happened to someone on our staff and they were not adequately insured, this is of dire consequence. So I think exactly, Jenny, this is us living our values as a bottom line number. So I'm not just saying this like pie in the sky. We need to, in the future, perhaps create another committee so that later, in 2 years or 5 years, we might think this through. This really doesn't feel right. That we could just maybe later talk about this. Full stop.
Yeah, I would. Being somebody that in the past has had a catastrophic plan, a $30,000 deductible, that's really not what we're talking about here. But, of course, we want to support our staff to the level, as much as we possibly can. What we're talking about is potentially potentially a high deductible plan, and that doesn't kick in right now. So there's some time to maybe shop around. But, you know, let's be a little bit more clear about the language, because I think the catastrophic plans are no longer legal since Obamacare.
As a member of the Finance Committee, I didn't want to leave Dave hanging as such, but I want to dovetail on what he said. I would say at every meeting, and we were holding extra meetings in the last 3 months, this has come up in conversation, trying to figure out what options and what solutions can we come up with. And I can tell you, it's a difficult decision. It's a difficult way of trying to work the numbers. Where do we cut? Where can we seek more revenue? You know, and I've been one that's been proposing that we really need a revenue development committee, you know, something there to seek ideas and to try to coordinate our revenue. Because the only way we can work with this is to try to develop revenue sources. You know, we have an auction coming up next week, which is really important and a really huge fundraiser for us. We need other activities. If we can't get it through our pledges, we have to get it through some other ways. There's two sides to the budget, the expenses and the revenue. And we have to make sure we develop those revenue streams. And I know Dave and I and Kay, we've talked about the health insurance. I mean, every committee meeting, the health insurance was on the topic. It was on the table, and we were discussing it and looking at all our options. So we empathize with it. I've been in a situation where I was unemployed technically for 2 years working, and I had that heavy insurance that really cost a lot of money because I was doing minor consulting work. But I can tell you, please be aware that we are working on it. We are trying to find solutions to all this.
And while I'm running, I'm just going to call out that we talked about this at the last town hall. This illustrates the dynamic tension between who we are and who we want to be, and fiscal realities. And the fact of the matter is that if we can't increase income, then we have to cut. So that, I mean, I'm going to make another ask, just so y'all know, and I'm looking around the room here, and everybody in this room gives of their time, talent, and treasure, and I am absolutely confident that everybody in this room has done the best that they absolutely can in terms of their pledge. But this is just reality, right? And we 100% want to have all of our staff at fair wages. We 100% want people to have the best insurance possible. We 100% want to make sure that people have all the hours that they're working accounted for. But this is kind of, where we're living in that reality. I think I saw Sandy's hand first and then Renee's.
I just wanted to say real quickly, even though the pledge drive is officially over, the March pledge drive, you can pledge at any time during the year. And you can also increase your pledge at any time. So keep that in mind.
But again, we are in a place where we're on that path to growth, and the best single way that we can grow is continue to bring more people in. And it is our RE program, it is our music program that are probably the most responsible for bringing people through the doors. Okay, I'm going to stop talking now.
So some of you might know I work for the Unitarian Universalist Association, our national office. I'm going to put that hat on for a moment. We are doing amazing as a congregation. Every congregation is struggling right now financially. One reason is because of health insurance, and to your point, Bryce, private equity firms have bought up a lot of the hospital systems and insurance companies and are just extracting as much wealth as they can. So like a lot of what we're facing is a huge sea change kind of problem like Dave talked about. So that's something that we're dealing with. The other thing that we're dealing with is that our baby boomer and silent generation folks, they just had better jobs. They didn't have student debt the way younger people do. And so what we're seeing is a demographic change as well, that there's a lot of just older members were able to pledge at higher levels because they had pensions, and like most people under 50 don't have a pension that they're going to be able to rely upon. So, and most people under 50 who went to college ended up with soul-crushing debt from college. So there's a lot of dynamics that beyond this congregation. And I want people to feel really good about what we've done in this particular pledge drive. I mean, this is absolutely amazing. My heart is just bursting full about how everyone has shown up. New folks have stepped up. All of that stuff's really good, and we need to celebrate that, even though we're not able to do what we want to do. Part of it's just beyond our control, but I think we're stepping up and meeting the challenge in amazing ways. I don't want that to get lost in the hard decisions that we have to make that are beyond our control. It's like if you have a medical diagnosis, like you have to deal with it. It's like that's beyond your control, but it's how we respond that matters.
This is just a little plug for the auction. Last time I checked, we need a lot more people offering activities, and so I know everyone likes to do things last minute, but let's get on it. Let's reduce Trudy's anxiety.
Bless you.
Two things. First one is that I really like hearing like everyone's input and like questions everyone else has asked. I feel like it kind of connects to one of my favorite things here, which is whenever we're able to make it to one of those discussion circles, it's like hearing people's stories and hearing what they think or what questions they have to ask about any given scenario or issue being put on display here. I think it's really valuable to hear all the different information and I guess questions people have about these things, as well as the question I had was what do you think is the biggest worry and the biggest hope?
Wow.
Wow.
That's a great question.
That's
You want to take that, Dave, or that me?
a good question.
I guess I'm the moderator, so I have to, right? I guess, biggest hope is that we continue to grow, our community continues to grow and diversify, and that we continue to be able to live into our values and live into our mission. And I would hope that, and I would expect if we continue on the path that we're on, within the next few years, we'll get to a point in terms of growth and more dynamism that we will have a balanced budget and we will not have to have this conversation. So biggest fear is that costs continue to increase beyond our control, or there is something that happens that we can't control. Or that people get frustrated because this year the budget isn't balanced and they go, I don't know if I want to, contribute. So that's my biggest fear. But I'm very optimistic. I've only been here 5 years, but over the 5 years, and especially since COVID, I've seen a lot of growth and a lot of diversification, and it's fantastic. So that's what I'm going to say. Don?
There seems to be a lot of concern about the changes in healthcare. I'm wondering if you can tell me what is the change in employee contribution for healthcare, and also what will be their change in deductible. That might help us to understand the change.
I understand the question. I don't have the answer. I don't have the numbers in front of me, and I can't quote them. So I'll have to look into that and get back to you. I don't have those numbers.
So I was curious, did we really make $20,000 in grocery cart sales? That seems incredibly high.
So this is a good accounting practices thing. So basically, it's we are spending $20,000 or we are spending $18,000 to get $20,000 in income. We're going to clear $2,000. But rather than just saying we're going to get $2,000 from grocery cards, we have to say that the expense is $18,000, the income is $20,000, the profit is 2. So that does make our expense line look oddly too high, and that's the reason.
How can we be spending $18,000 to get this? Is that what the grocery stores charge?
Yeah. We buy the cards. We- So the expectation is that, you know, with selling $20,000 worth of grocery cards will get us $2,000. So 10% of that is ours. And that's how it works.
5%.
Did I say 10%? Yeah. Wishful thinking.
I just wanted to mention to thank you, sir, and thank you, ma'am, for because I feel like you guys have both been very understanding and very communicative with all the different questions people have, and I think that's really valuable. I think
That's literally what we're here for.
I just want to put in a quick plug for an auction item that I'm working on with Trudy. I am one of the members of this church that at this moment am not able to put in a lot of cash, but in terms of time, talent, treasure, I've been trying to give a lot of those things. And my husband and I have decided to put in a 70s disco night party. It's going to be a huge blowout. Exactly. So get your costumes on, guys and gals, because there's going to be a costume contest with prizes, an open bar, the kinds of music that you will all remember, and if you weren't there for it, you know it. We're going to be dancing all night under the stars if the stars allow, without rain, and if they don't, you'll be dancing under an amazing disco ball. Great food, and hopefully we will be bidding up those per ticket prices so the money can help offset some of these costs that we're talking about. We're gonna have a great time together. It's a party for up to 30 people at our house. It's gonna be awesome. We're gonna have a wonderful time together. Those are the kinds of things, though, that people can do. You all know, you've been doing this for a while, but you know, if we're all being creative about the things that we can donate and we can get those monies in through the auction, we can get more money into the budget, you know, to afford the things that we need. That's the kind of thing that I'm happy to do. I'm racking my brain. Also, I think myself and a brand new, not yet member, also will be putting in a tea party for about 12, and we'll be offering not only the event of the day for 12 people with tea foods and teas, but also dried teas that you can select and take home to enjoy after that. So there's 2 events that we know of so far that haven't been put in the online book yet, but be thinking about. We'd love to have you. Thanks.
Okay, any more questions? Oh.
Hi. So I want to apologize to everybody for the fact that we're going to be out of the States, or up in Alaska for the summer, and we can't participate in the service auction. So that's unfortunate, and it's not an intentional slight. It's just one of those things. It looks like, so I went through the budget a little bit, and I took out the draws that are the budgeted draws, and I took out the grocery card sales that were added for income to see what really happened. And it looks like we got about a net increase in income next year projected to be 9%, which is really nice. And I want to congratulate everybody on working towards that. I'm as pleased as I could be, I guess, with the proposed draw dropping down. We get 2 more years of life before we have a budget crisis. We get 2 more years where we can continue to increase, hopefully, our income without a corresponding increase in expenses, which of course is the rub. And so Good job, everybody, and I hope it goes well, and we'll find out next year. So thanks.
Okay.
That is high praise. I will take it.
You know, in the, sometimes we have in the service, not the service section, but in the pledge campaign, we'll have people come up and say, you know, what this church means to them. And this is what I love about this church, is that this exchange of views, and that people are, you know, welcome and feel free to say, no, I think this, or I think that. And that's a great thing. I don't think you see that in every, you certainly don't see it in all churches, and I don't think you see it in very many organizations either. So thank you all for some very good comments. I actually agree with you more than I can say. So we will we'll be looking at ways that we can, we are putting together a 3-year plan. That's one of the things that we were tasked with doing. And, you know, our crystal ball is cloudy and it has a crack, but we will we'll give it a shot as to how we can get to where we want to be, and particularly, and I absolutely agree, particularly with our employees, without putting ourselves in a crisis of drawing down all of our reserves and winding up with nothing. So that's our task, and I agree with Max that, you know, there's going to have to be an increase on our income. The pledges are amazing, and I hate to keep saying, oh, well, we need to pledge more, but what we need to do is attract more new members. We're at a point in membership now where we're no longer a small congregation, we're moving into a mid-sized congregation, and things happen differently. And so I'm thinking that, yes, we need to attract more people who will pledge. Our pledges are still 70% of our total income. So if we can move that down by getting income from other sources, that would be great. But that's what we're working on over the next 3 years, because my goal personally at the end of 3 years is that there's no more draw. Whether that's possible or not, I guess we'll see. But that's sort of the mind frame of the Finance Committee. Next slide. Okay, I think we already went over this. We've gone over pretty much that, I think. So,
Yeah, this is where, you know, that ask I said that I was going to put out there. If you have not pledged yet, if you know of anybody who has not pledged yet, who maybe has in the past, if you know, we're waiting and seeing where we landed and waiting and seeing where this budget came out before you kind of made a final decision. Anything additional that you can, you know, put forward, the board talked about, we think the right place to put any additional is probably towards trying to get closer to a full-time minister, because that 75 grand is at like 90% of midpoint for a 3/4 time, and that's assuming a single 50-year-old male in terms of benefits. So like that's, I'm giving you the full picture here. So if we can find anywhere, if we can turn over any additional rock or anything like that, because we were just talking about aspirations of growth and a balanced budget, and a lot of that having to come from more people. A lot of that growth is probably going to be somewhat contingent on the type of leadership that we were able to have and the type of person that we can have in that role. And a lot of what we can get is going to be informed by what we are able to offer. So Randy?
Let's say we're unable to draw the extra 22, maybe we get half of that. Would we be more inclined then to dedicate that to paying our existing employees more or increasing their salaries?
That's probably a board decision, and I don't think that we've had enough conversation about that that I can make that statement. And some of that's probably going to be based on feedback as well.
Thank you. Kara, can you talk a little bit more about the
search process with the minister and time frames and that sort of thing?
That's next, the next slide. So, Trish, did you have another budget? Same question. Okay, well, that being the case, then update on transitional ministry search. Look at that.
Let me just finish up by saying I would encourage everybody to go over the budget with as fine a tooth comb as you want to. If you have any questions about it, or any concerns, Kay will be back on Tuesday.
Thank you. Thank you. Have to adjust the mic back down. But again, thank you, Dave. Thank you for pinch hitting for Kay. Very, very well done. Okay, so update on transitional ministry search. If you want to go ahead to the next slide. First thing I want to do is give you the update in terms of who's working on this, because we are fortunate enough to have identified and asked and had folks willing to join the search team. In addition to Ginny and I and Susanna, who will be continuing on the board next year, Randy has been gracious enough to agree to join us and has been participating. Reverend Christie has, and then Rhonda Richardson has as well. So we've got a great diversity of tenure and perspectives, and also a lot of folks there who will be working hand in hand with whomever that next person is. So next slide. So I'll give you a little background here. I probably should have said that before this. We've been meeting regularly, the last month or 2 weeks, months through, I don't know, it's all kind of, running together. But we're meeting about once a week. We put together the content for our application that went out for the interim minister. That went live on Thursday. So far, Reverend Sunshine has indicated that there has been some interest that they have heard about, so that's a good sign, even with the lowered salary. Certainly, that is a bit of a roadblock, because asking somebody to do a full-time job, with that a less than full-time midpoint salary is a little bit more of a stretch. But so far seems to be so good. But I will let you know that, and I will let you know that next Sunday would be the date that we would receive any interested interim candidate names. So at that point, we would begin having conversations with them. We have about 2 weeks to determine if there is anyone that we want to proceed with. If there is anyone we have interest in, we then submit those names, and there's a matchmaking process that the transitions office does. And then if there is a match, they let us know. But I will tell you that parallel path, we are also looking at contract options. So are there people who might be good fits, who might be other UUA congregations right now? Sunshine has some folks that they know of who they're kind of poking at, who might have some interest. Might there be folks from other religious traditions who might be interested? Might there be other creative things that we can do? We're parallel pathing that right now. So if anybody has any ideas, knows anyone, has any network connections they might want to bring to us, let anybody on that team know. We're kind of capturing a list of those folks and kind of working through those as we go. So ideas have been surfaced like, we can work with UCC ministers, and we have an agreement that we can work back and forth into transitions there, so we're having some conversations there. So all that is to say that we are casting as broad a net as possible. We're moving forward, and that's kind of where we are right now. But if you could go to the next slide, I do want to call out again, because this was something that felt like a concern based on our last interim experience for those who were here. If we don't find the right person in the interim process, we can say, we didn't find the right person, that's great, and move on and continue the contract search. So we're not just going to take someone because they were the only one who was interested or something like that. It has to be the right fit. Any questions on any of that?
Not diminishing the importance of having a minister, but there is an alternative that might match us for a while, and that is to use lay-led ministry, as we have been doing, in my opinion, very successfully. We've seen a big upcharge in energy in our church just in the last few months. It's not well defined to say, well, let's just have lay-led ministry, but I think we have a lot of experience in that area, and if we need to take a year, or if we need to take 2 years to find the minister for us, I think we should consider that also.
And that is certainly something that may or may not become reality, depending on how these things go. But we also have to be, I 100% hear you, Claudia, and I wholeheartedly agree. Our worship arts team has been amazing. They're doing an absolutely amazing job. The one thing that we have to be really mindful of is burnout, because we also have a lot of people who are lifting a lot of plates right now and spinning a lot of plates. So any conversation that we have around that, we need to make sure that the worship arts team is, fully engaged in that. And I see from the chat, I apologize. Adelicia Raven Luna Black Raven, I totally agree with lay minister, I agree. Thank you. Heidi?
All right, see the hand.
As a member of the worship team, we have had some conversations, and we felt that we were really stepping up when Reverend Stephen went to 3/4 time. We had some pretty intensive conversations about can the worship team manage that, filling in the additional time, and we came to the conclusion that we probably could. To continue for who knows how long, being the only, the only people doing the worship, and there's other jobs that a minister does beyond being the pulpit on 2 or 3 Sundays a month. So the burnout question is real. We love the fact that we do have a deep bench and that we do provide lots of different voices in the pulpit, but there is a concern about long-term over-reliance on the lay ministry and those on the committee or the worship team that are also ordained ministers or trained commissioned lay ministry of asking too much.
In the back, Julie.
Just a short question. Does the UUA work with us on the contract minister search, or is that an independent thing?
Yes, they work with us. The transitions office works with any kind of ministerial search, but the candidates don't necessarily have to come from the UUA. They can come from elsewhere as well. I'm going to build a little bit on what Heidi said. To your point, we've got pastoral care that a couple of people have been handling, and that can be an area of burnout really quickly, and then even some of the administrative dot connecting. I will tell you personally, I have been at the church in an MET or a board meeting at least every week since Reverend Stephen passed, so it's a lot. So, but we will, we'll continue to do what we need to do until we, don't have to do it anymore. But yeah, Trish, in front of you, Julie. Trish, yeah.
I don't quite know how to put this, but I would like us to make sure we're not subtly and unconsciously practicing ageism at all when looking at candidates. We're tending to live longer, and it also comes with Medicare.
Mm. Okay. All right, any more questions on transitional ministry search? All right, next slide then. Okay, so another place for an ask here. If you have ever really wanted to see what the inner workings of the General Assembly are at the UUA, now would be your chance to let us know. We are looking for delegates for the General Assembly this year. It is online, so you can do it fully online. In fact, it will be fully online. Our congregation, because of our size, gets 4 delegates. So if you are interested, the dates are up there. It's June 20th through 24th. There is no charge for delegates. If you want to participate in all the stuff that surrounds that, it's $315, but leadership development does have monies to offset that. So if you are interested, please send me an email, let me know, and we'll make sure we get you set up there. All right, next. Just wanted to call out that we finally, we've been tabling policy updates for I don't even know how long now. The board finally got to a couple of policy things, and actually I missed one up here. We did put in place a no solicitation policy. I've gotten some feedback already on Facebook about things that maybe we didn't consider, so we'll probably take that book back and look at it. But just know that, generally speaking, policy states that nobody should be soliciting on church grounds. If there is a need that somebody has, we can refer them to the church office for kind of a formal ask. We have a ministerial development fund that's kind of in place for that. We also have folks who are very well-versed in social services available around here if that's necessary. So just know that that's out there. There are some exceptions, but we'll more widely distribute that. Also, we finally, after lots and lots of work by lots and lots of people, have an art and aesthetics policy that has been approved that will also be published this week. And then one that I forgot to put up there, we have revoked the policy that stated that folks could not enter service after it had begun. That one had been in place for a long, long time, and it felt like now was the time to let that one kind of pass. Any questions on? Okay, next slide then. All right, this is the advertisement. Please, if you are not in a fabulous camper van making your way across the country, because that conversion is going to be awesome, please plan to be at the voting meeting. Obviously, we need a quorum. There will be absentee ballots published. There will be Zoom ballots, but we need a quorum in person in order to make that vote legitimate. So please put that on your calendar right now if it is not there already. And next slide. Finally, how can you engage with the board? As y'all know, you see all of these. We will continue to try to do town halls kind of periodically as there is information to impart, but obviously email us. We have open board meetings. They're twice a month on the first and third Thursdays at 7 o'clock. So if you're interested in seeing how the sausage is made, I know it's really exciting to most people. You're welcome to come. If you have something that you want us to put on the agenda, please let me know. Yes, Jen? Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say May 28th? Okay, thank you.
The date you had on there was a Tuesday.
I had the wrong date. Thank you for calling that out.
No, Lois did. I just.
This is what I get for not having someone proofread my slides the last time. It's the 19th. Thank you very much. All right. Folks on Zoom, did you catch that? Yes, Mary Beth Cannon. Calendar says the 19th. Thank you. Yes. All right. That's what I get for not, double, triple checking the slides. All right. So anyway, at any rate, if you need anything from the board, if you want something to be put on the agenda, please let us know. Jen, anything else?
I have one more question. You said that we needed an in-person quorum, physically in person. We interpreted that differently when we had no in-person, but we were still interpreting the existing bylaws. Are we saying that people that are live on Zoom are not counted in the quorum?
No, they are counted in the, I think last year we determined that there was the physical present. We'll take that back and look at that again.
Because that way Randy and Mary aren't off the hook. I was just.
Oh, I like it. Yeah. Now, I mean, to be perfectly clear, all the votes count. I will go back and clarify on the physical quorum.
All right, well, I'm in Dayton that weekend. But.
Randy?
Sign in on Zoom, you might be here.
That's what I'm saying. If I sign in on Zoom, does my count?
Your vote still counts, yes. All right, Julie, I think Randy had another, because he wants to be off the hook.
The van's in the parking lot, and I'll open the doors if anyone wants to see what it is.
Oh, sweet.
That's a big yes here. I want to see that.
All right. Any further questions, comments, thoughts? All right. Thank you all. Thank you. Much appreciated.